These Cold Walls of Thunder Bay, Chapter 5. "I can't keep it in much longer," he began. Any conversation we were having stopped, and we all turned to look at Carter. "What do you mean?" I asked. He stayed quiet for a moment, but then he said it. "I killed them." No one really answered until Stanley took over. "Who did you kill?" he asked in a stern and strict manner. "You know," he said. "I did it. I killed Jeff and Frank." There was still a silence that fell over everyone. I heard him say it, but I didn't believe it. "You killed them?" Stanley asked. "Why didn't you say anything? Why did you take us with you to this shithole?" I thought Stanley was going to hit him, but he didn't. He was holding his nerve. "I couldn't face this place alone. That's why I stayed quiet," Carter said. "I knew I had done wrong, but I knew I wouldn't be able to cope. I thought it was best to just stay quiet, pretend I didn't know, then we would all go down for it. It was too much information for me to take in all at once. I was here, locked up in hell because of something that man, I once thought of as my friend, did. I got up to leave, but I couldn't let it go. "You have to tell them," I said. "You have to let them know that you were the one that did it. We don't have to be in here." Carter didn't reply, but simply nodded. "I'll do it in the morning. I need to lie down just now. I don't feel so good." I could sympathize with him. He was an old man and prison life was killing him. He was sick of it, and he was ill. Stanley was in shock. He couldn't really say anything, but that was normal for him while we were in here. I thought for a second Carter was going to hand himself in there and then, especially when he began speaking to Yorkie, but it was to only get his medicine. "Can I have the cough medicine now?" he asked. Yorkie was never one for pleasantries, but agreed. He disappeared for a second, leaving us all to stand in silence. He returned and handed the glass bottle of medicine over to Carter. "Can I keep hold of it for the night? The cough is worse at night," he asked Yorkie. He nodded. It was a usual occurrence for him to be allowed to keep the medicine. After all, he was really ill. It was time for lockdown. I went back to my cell that night with a glimmer of hope that maybe Carter's admission would save us. If it all went well, we would be free men in a few weeks. Little did I know that Carter would have something else planned for that evening, something that would kill all hope and keep us held in Thunder Bay. There was screaming, loud screaming. I jumped out of bed and looked out of my cell door. It was coming from Carter's cell. I tried to see what was going on out of the darkness. I heard the footsteps of Yorkie come along the corridor. "Quiet down in there," he shouted. "Back to sleep." The screaming continued. Yorkie ordered the lights to be switched on. Carter's cell door opened and Yorkie went in. It clicked shut behind him. I could see it all the way from my cell door. "What's happening in here?" he asked. Carter was sitting on the bed facing the other way. "Bad idea, Yorkie," he said. "I wouldn't have let the door lock behind you." Yorkie looked around. He looked nervous. "Right, come on, no more games," he shouted. "What's going on?" Carter turned around and stood up. He had that medicine bottle in his hand. He smashed it up against the wall and held a sharp shard to Yorkie's throat. "You are going to suffer now. You are going to suffer in the same way that you've made us suffer." There was a struggle. Once again, like all the acts of violence we had seen recently, it was just so fast. "Guards, guards, back up!" Yorkie was smashed up against the bars of the cell door. Another 3 or 4 guards ran towards the wing. They had their guns pointed right towards Carter. "Put the bottle down," they shouted. "Put it down now!" It was too late. Carter stabbed Yorkie in the back. He fell to the ground, and the blood started flowing. Carter ducked down behind Yorkie to avoid being shot. "We have a major situation. Back up!" By this time, every prisoner in the building was shouting and chanting, "Kill him! Kill him!" "Someone get Dolan down here now. This is a major incident," one of the guards shouted. I could just about make out what one of the guards were saying. "Let him go, Carter. This doesn't have to end badly. You can still walk away free if you just give yourself up now." "No, this ends tonight. This man brings terror and horror to us and tries to break our spirits. This is it. This is how it ends." It was a full-blown hostage situation. It seemed like a lot of time before more guards came in. They decided it would be safer to try and put us together in pairs, just in case anyone tried to escape, or something silly like that. Stanley was put in with me. "Oh my God," he started. "This isn't going to end well, is it?" he asked. "It'll be fine," I said. Carter will come to his senses. I don't think Stanley was convinced. We stood close to the cell doors and watched. Governor Dolan arrived. We could hear his shoes on the concrete floor. Seconds later, he had arrived. "This is Governor Dolan," he shouted towards the other prisoners. "You are ordered to remain calm and quiet this instant." His orders fell flat and caused more of an uproar. "Carter!" He turned his attention to the cell. By now there was a stream of blood pouring out from behind the bars. "Let this man go free while you still can." Again his orders didn't work. Carter called back, "Go to hell, Dolan, that's where we're all going." Dolan turned and began speaking to the guards. "You'll just have to do what you have to do here. I want my guard out alive. Shoot to kill." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You can't do that," I shouted. Dolan turned to me. "Shut up in there or you'll be shot as well." That was me told. We watched as the guards ran towards the cell like headless chickens, trying their best to come up with some sort of plan to save Yorkie. They were definitely up against the clock. An hour had passed and there was still no end in sight for this standoff. The others had settled down and had either gone back to bed or were watching silently. They were watching, getting ready to find out who would win this battle. Judging by how much blood was on the floor, I doubted there was very much chance for Yorkie to live through this. Dolan had come back to try and talk him down once again. "We'll meet any demand you want, Carter. If you let him go, we'll organise anything. Name it, we'll do whatever you want." Carter seemed to be keen to have this chat. He stood up from behind Yorkie. "I want out," he said. "I want out and put to another prison, one far away from here." "OK, fine, we can do that. All I want you to do is slide the bottle through the bars and allow us to open the door and get Yorkie out. Can you do that for me?" Dolan asked. Carter nodded. Stanley and I were both pressed up against the bars watching. The tension was high in the prison. He seemed to think about it for a second, but finally Carter passed the bottle through the bars. A guard was there to grab it. They also had a medical team on standby ready to remove Yorkie. The cell doors opened. The team moved in and took him away in seconds. Dolan stood outside and ordered the cell door to be shut again. "Thank you, Carter. That wasn't too difficult, was it?" Carter nodded. "Good. Now, to start these plans with you," he started. He turned and began to walk away. "Kill him," Dolan ordered. The guards flocked around the cell and began to fire their guns. The other prisoners began shouting and screaming out again. The guns fell silent. I didn't want to look over to the cell, but I did. It was a horrible sight. Carter was gone, as was our hope of ever getting out. Our one chance was dead. The guards didn't bother putting us back in our own cells that night. We sat and discussed Carter and how he got us to where we were now. Although he was responsible for us being stuck in here, I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of loss. He was a fatherly figure, well, for me anyway, but now he was gone. Our thoughts turned to the next few days at the prison and how that would be. Little did we know how bad. Stanley also pointed out that we were now in a race against the clock to get out. "There's only one thing for it," he said. "What?" I asked. "We have to escape and make our own way out, but we'll make it better this time, not like the last attempt." He was tired and in shock, so I didn't really take him on. I thought he was just dreaming big. Maybe in the morning, when the dust had settled, he would be able to see things clearer. That's what I hoped, anyway. That night we'd taken our first steps to getting out. The thought was there. We just needed a plan, and that was to follow over the next few weeks.